What is up, my friends, and welcome to Studio De Jeffrey, where today we are going to talk about a number of things involving Cowboys free agency and potentially the draft as well. The reason we will start with free agency is I asked for questions this morning on Twitter at JC1053, and a lot of the questions that I got were about how in the world are you going to improve the roster when you're cutting all of your best players. What moves in free agency do you want them to make? What will they actually make? Who comes back out of all these different Cowboy free agents? And so I will do my best to answer the first question or the third question first. Which guys come back of the Cowboys free agents? And some of these guys aren't free agents that we need to know about. And it's just because of the reality of the NFL and how the salary cap works, okay? So people have the idea that the Cowboys don't go all in and the Cowboys don't get risky with the cap and just move all your money around and sign more players. The reality is the Cowboys do those things. Guys who are on the books next year for more than the average value of their contracts: Tank Lawrence, Amari Hooker, Zach Martin, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins. And that is because they've already moved money on those guys to try to save money and add to their football team. So they do the things that a lot of people are clamoring for them to do more of. They already do them. It's part of the reason that right now they're salary cap strapped, because they have 7 highly paid veteran players on their team. That's a pretty big number. And one of them is a really big number for a quarterback. So that's how they got here. So the question I was asked is, who comes back out of Tank Lawrence, Amari Hooker, Dalton Schultz, Leighton Vander Esch, Connor Williams? I'll throw in Randy Gregory because I'm going to draw you up how this is going to work. The way this is going to work is right this second, the Cowboys are over $21 million over the salary cap. Love it or hate it, Dak Prescott is going to be the quarterback of the Cowboys for the next couple to few years. That's going to happen. So you're going to use Dak Prescott to save money. That's what they're going to do. They're going to restructure his contract, and you can always go to overthecap.com or just Google like Dallas Cowboys salary cap and then go to overthecap.com. And they have a neat little column where you can just sort it out and be like, hey, I want to see who on this team can you restructure? What happens if I cut a guy at this time? And blah, blah, blah. So Dak Prescott can save you over $15 million with the restructure. The Cowboys are likely going to do that because I don't see what other options they have. So that happens. Now you're a little over $6 million over the cap. This is why the Amari Hooker story exists. I've already done a Dak restructure. I'm still $6 million over the cap. So what am I going to do about that? I need $8 million to sign my draft class. I am planning to keep Randy Gregory. $6 million over the cap, I can't do either of those things. So if Amari Hooker is traded and or released, you save $16 million. Now you're almost $10 million under the cap. Now, another candidate, I think, is you could release Anthony Brown. You do that, now you're almost $15 million under the salary cap. Now, if that's not enough, and it's not enough for everything that you want to do, out of the other restructure candidates, I think Zach Martin is probably the safest. Could save you $7 million. Now I'm $21.7 million under the cap. Maybe Tank takes a pay cut and give me 5 to 7 more, gets me to 28 under. Maybe he's not open to that. And maybe Tank Lawrence gets released. You only save $8 million. You eat 19, but that would put you about $30 million under the salary cap. So the reason that really good players' names are coming up is because there aren't a lot of other options other than doubling and tripling down on moving those guys' money around. You could save $12 million by restructuring Tank, but then you're going to have a pass rusher going into his 30s who's going to be on the books for 30-some-odd million and 30-some-odd million, and that's a dangerous game to play. Amari Hooker, you could restructure and save $12.5 million. It just means more guaranteed money being pushed back and a higher cap. His cap figure next year would be, I don't even know, priced somewhere around $30 million. So that's the game you're playing, is which of these are feasible, which of these are realistic, which of these guys do I believe is going to continue to be a really, really good player years down the road, where it doesn't kill me that he's got a bunch of guaranteed money there and I can't get rid of him. So that's the game you're playing. The other ways this team could save money, other than releasing guys or trading guys like Amari Cooper and Tank Lawrence, is you could restructure Tank, you could restructure Cooper, you could restructure Zach Martin, you could restructure Zeke, but that you better not do. You could restructure Tyron Smith, you could restructure Lyle Collins. Those are the names that could save you money. It's just a dangerous game to play. So, the amount that the Cowboys are likely going to have to spend, according to my guesses, is somewhere between 21 and 30 million bucks. That's what we're going to have to play with. Okay? Now, let's start over with the questions. Who's coming back? To me, Randy Gregory is number one. And Randy Gregory, here's the thing. Pro Football Focus already did this for me. Projected contract for Randy Gregory is 2 years, $25 million. Done. Sign it. Now, the first year will probably be a lower hit than the second year. So let's say that counts $10 or $12 million against the cap. Plus we have a draft class. So almost $20 million of my spending money in the offseason is gone. So even in a scenario where, say, Tank takes a pay cut or Tank is released, I got about $10 million left to spend. You're almost done. Dalton Schultz, projected contract, 4 years, $52 million. Cowboys aren't swimming in that pool. He's out of here. Michael Gallup, projected 2 years, $25 million. That's $12.5 per year. If that is the number he gets, seems high to me. Cowboys are out on that. Connor Williams, 3 years, $20 million. You could do that if you wanted to. I think most of us don't want to, and you want to draft a guy or find somebody else. Leighton Vander Esch, they're projecting 3 years, $25.5 million, $8.5 million a year. Cowboys aren't in on that. Jayron Kearse, 3 years, $15 million. 5 a pop. Dan Quinn's still here. Sign it. Probably counts 4 in the first year with Randy's. We are running out of money, but you could still probably keep somebody like Cedrick Wilson, 2 years and $11 million is his projected. Or Malik Hooker, 1 year, $2.5 million. If you sign Randy Gregory, Malik Hooker, and Jayron Kearse, there's no way to do that if Amari Cooper's on the roster. That's the game they're playing. That's why you're hearing about the potential of Amari Cooper not being on this team. Is it smart? We can debate. You'd much rather keep your number one wide receiver, who's probably worth the $20 million he makes a year, but this is the spot they're in, because they have 7 really highly paid veterans who have already had money pushed around. This is where you end up. And so that is Cowboys' reality of the offseason. If you want to keep Randy Gregory and an assorted 2 or 3 other guys, it probably requires saving the $16 million you can save by not having Amari Cooper on the team. It might require the Zach Martin restructure. It might require, I'm trying to think, those are the only 2 I would want the Cowboys to do. A lot of people just say, do all of it. Then you got $60 million to spend. Everybody's still on the team, and it just hurts later. The Rams might do that. The Saints would do that. The Cowboys don't, and I think I like it. I would rather just be consistently competitive and hope that at some point you play better in a postseason game or games. So get it together, Cowboys. So that's your Cowboys free agency realities. If you're looking at big names from outside the organization, it's probably not possible. And I encourage you to play with the Over the Cap tool, overthecap.com, and you will see why certain names keep coming up, because they're the only things that are realistic for this team to save the dollar bills. Next things that we've got here. You want to jump the Eagles to get Tyler Linderbaum, or happy to hold and wait, even if it risks missing Linderbaum, Kenyon Green, Nakobe Dean. That is Tyler Linderbaum, the Iowa center, who will be one of my top 10 players in this draft class. Kenyon Green, the Texas A&M guard, who will be one of my top 15 to 20 players. and Nakobe Dean, the Georgia linebacker, who will be one of my top 15 players. I don't want him to jump the Eagles to go get a specific player because I would just wait. If you have a target list that involves those 3 guys, wait. See if 2 of them are gone. And if 2 of them are gone, and then you want to jump for a guy, you can. The challenge here is that even as a guy who studies the tape and loves the NFL draft, it's not an exact science. So generally speaking, trading up is a bad idea. Trading up for a quarterback, fine. But trading up, generally speaking, is a bad idea just because of how often people hit and miss. More picks is good. More chances at it, more opportunities, more darts to throw at the board is a good thing. So unless you are in a dire spot and desperately want one individual prospect, let it come to you. And at 24, it'll be a good player. It'll work out. Do you think we will have Leighton Vander Esch? Or do we even know? We don't know if we'll have Leighton Vander Esch. But again, if he's going to get his projected contract that Pro Football Focus is guessing of over $8 million a year, I really don't know how the Cowboys play in that pool. I don't know. Same thing with Michael Gallup. If he's really going to be a $12 million player, I don't know how the Cowboys play in that pool. Now, if either of those guys don't have a strong market and Michael Gallup wanted to come back, let's say in this scenario, Amari Cooper is gone. And so Michael Gallup knows there's going to be even more opportunities, even more targets, the potential for even bigger numbers. Maybe coming off of this injury, he comes back on, say, a 1-year, $6 to $8 million deal, tries to build that value, and then go get a whole bunch of money. How deep is this offensive line class? So far, it looks pretty darn good. There's going to be probably 4 offensive tackles, maybe more, maybe 5. Maybe at least 5. They go in the first round, offensive tackles. I really like at least 2 guards in this class, and that's at the top of the draft. Zion Johnson at Boston College and Kenyon Green. I love Tyler Linderbaum. That's 8 guys on the offensive line. And as you go through the second and third rounds, yeah, there's going to be NFL starters as rookies on the offensive line that are picked out of the third round. Maybe later. It's a pretty good offensive line class so far, based on what I have seen. Next one. Would fans prefer to build the way LA did through using draft picks to add players, or the way Cincy did through the draft? Now, the answer to that question is yes. That's the answer to the question. What the Cowboys should have done, according to me last year, isn't trading a bunch of first-round picks for this player or that player because they've already got most of their highly paid guys on the roster. You don't have room for really the highly paid guys. What the Cowboys should do is lean a little bit further towards the Rams' way. At the deadline, the Steelers were shopping Melvin Ingram. The Chiefs picked him up. It let them move Chris Jones back to defensive tackle, and it fixed the Chiefs' defense. They went from bad to pretty good at defense. The Cowboys should have been in on that. Another good pass rusher to throw in as kind of your third edge with Tank and Randy, and plus you got Micah hanging around. That's where I think more teams need to be aggressive, is at the trade deadline throwing mid to late round picks to rent a guy. You want to go all in? Go all in by making your team better at the trade deadline when you know that you're in the mix and it's not something that is going to hamper you long term. His contract will be off the books. If he makes good money somewhere else, he'll get a comp pick back. That's the way that I wish that they were more aggressive. How do you feel about staying at 24 and using a different scenario from Brian Broaddus's trading Cooper to move back up to the middle of the first? Oh, use Cooper and your 2 to move back into the middle of the first. Imagine if you could get Kenyon Green and Tyler Linderbaum. Sure. I am 100% about that life. Is it probable that you could get a quality starter at center and guard in the draft this year? Not probable. I wouldn't be surprised at all if their first-round pick is an offensive lineman, and if it's not, I wouldn't be surprised at all if their second-round pick was an offensive lineman. But if you pick an offensive lineman with the first pick, my guess is your second-round pick will be a different direction, whether it's defensive tackle, linebacker, pass rusher, wide receiver. There's a lot of different ways you could go. Would you rather add a deep center field safety type to this team, or a safety/nickel like Jalen Petrie, Baylor safety. If you want him, I bet you got to take him in the second. I think in today's NFL, your safeties have to be well-rounded. You can't be a guy that is a can't hit, can't tackle, roaming free safety, and you can't be a box guy that can't cover. Too often in the NFL now, those guys have to be interchangeable, or they both have to cover a deep half of the field. You need guys to be nice, balanced players. I like Jalen Petrie. Wouldn't hate it if that was the Cowboys' second-round pick. I think that's a nice safety. That is a blend of being able to cover and being an aggressive tackler and hitter. So I would rather add a guy that is not a liability in coverage and is not a liability tackling. Am I asking too much? Do you think the recent success of Micah Parsons hurts the chances of Georgia linebacker Nakobe Dean falling? No. Because the difference is that Micah Parsons is 6'3", 246 pounds, ran a 4.39, and ran a 6.94 three-cone drill, which is a drill that tells you how you can bend. So when pass rushers run a good three-cone, people get excited. Nakobe Dean is going to be 6 foot, 225, and does not have Micah Parsons' body, frame, ability to bend and turn the corner. So Nakobe Dean is not going to be able to be used in the way Micah Parsons is. Micah Parsons went number 12 because, one, he was a great prospect, but two, because of the way he was built and the way that he moves, you can use him as a pass rusher. Nakobe Dean can rush the passer, but it'll be as a blitzer coming up the middle. And when you line him up there in the middle, guards, centers, like they're screwed because he's just going to whoop, whoop, and he's gone. But because he's not the same player Micah Parsons is, it's very possible Nakobe Dean is available at 24. Very possible. That's all I got for today. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, that went for a while. Make sure you're subscribed, youtube.com/Jeff Cavanaugh. I think that will become very important for all of us. So please do. Remember that Wednesday, what's today, Tuesday? So tomorrow night, every Wednesday night, Dane Brugler, Brian Broaddus, and myself at youtube.com/Jeff Cavanaugh will do a draft show for you guys. We'll go live for about an hour every Wednesday at 8:30. So please be locked in to that. And remember that therapy is cool. And remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everyone. I love you. Bye.